Yeah, we're back. We're back with Aaron Day, chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus of New Hampshire, talking about Kelly Ayotte.
And I didn't put the test card on during the break because we were busy talking amongst ourselves.
Well, this isn't something you do every week.
No.
That's okay. People can watch us go, it's not like we're flipping anybody the bird or anything. We're swearing. We don't do that here. So,
tempting as it is with the Republican establishment.
Tempting as it is, yes. All right. So, Aaron, what else we got going on with the RLCNH?
Well, the main thrust is actually Medicaid expansion and then this Kelly Ayotte charge. Because for me, clearly, if this doesn't happen, if we don't stop Medicaid expansion, then I'm going to be off working on this independent campaign, unless I can recruit somebody that has an even better chance of having a bigger impact. But the plan, of course, is once we stop Medicaid expansion, then we're going to go aggressively into recruitment for the 2016 election. And, we have quite a bit of recruitment to do. We need a lot of great rep candidates, and there are going to be a lot of dynamics in the state Senate where we're going to need a large number of candidates because several people are retiring, and so that's been an issue for us to find people that have the time and meet the residency requirements to run for state Senate. So that'll be the next wave.
That's probably the most important chamber because we've got to get to, I think, a 2/3 majority there to be anything like safe, just to prevent our own people from screwing up.
Yeah, it's got to be 2/3 of people, with a majority of that 2/3 being good libertarian, conservative, pro-liberty, small government candidates, because right now we send 1 or 2 or 3 of them in there, which we've done, and then they begin to get sucked up into that whole upper chamber thing.
Yeah.
And, no roll calls. It's really like this inside thing where they're all buddy-buddy. And
this seems to be a problem with Senates in general. They consider
it is.
themselves to be exclusive clubs of the best that can make our decisions for us.
Well, and I'll tell you, they really do focus on collegiality more than principle. And I've been baffled by this, but where you'll find when I've talked to various senators on issues, and some of these are people that we've backed and we've endorsed and supported heavily in the past, and I've said, look, this is clearly a fill in the blank crony issue. This is a government expansion issue, and I've actually gotten back the response, well, but it's important that we stick together as a group, and I find that to be unsettling to say the least.
Because we've decided that the liberty and the Constitution aren't nearly as important as our little group that we've got going on here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, what I'm hearing about Medicaid expansion, though, given that is the focus, if you look at what's going on just this week, United Healthcare has stated that they're, looking at very seriously pulling out of the exchange, which is a massive problem. They're the largest insurer. You've had multiple exchanges go under. You're seeing Medicaid expansion fail state after state. And what people are seeing with Medicaid expansion, because everybody jumps into this and says, we really need to take care of the poor. Well, Medicaid expansion just covers people from 100 to 138% of the poverty level. And what you find is that most of the people that actually are taking advantage of it are single, able-bodied, and at least half of them have jobs. In fact, 45% actually self-report that they have jobs. But you know that it's significantly higher than that. So we're literally just giving money to people that don't need it, and in most cases are able to buy their own insurance privately. It is absolutely unbelievable with $18 trillion worth of debt that we think that this is a good idea.
And it doesn't work, and the doctors won't take them, and the deductibles are sky high, and more of them are figuring out that they're better off for several years yet, even in the escalating fines, paying the fine and just paying as you go, going to the urgent care, paying cash, because there is no care available. The emergency rooms can't refuse you. The hospitals can go bankrupt, but the emergency room can't refuse you. And the urgent care takes cash and isn't terribly expensive by comparison. So most of them are going insurance-free and paying as they go.
Yep, that's exactly right. And this is one of the problems that when I was arguing against this last time, one of the Jeff Bradley made a few big arguments. One of his big arguments is, it's going to cut down on uncompensated care. Well, we still have, at last total, $427 million worth of uncompensated care. So Medicaid expansion has done nothing for that. It also hasn't changed the utilization of the emergency room, because just because people have now Medicaid doesn't mean they're using it preemptively. They're actually just still going to the emergency room. It's just that now they have Medicaid. So it has failed on every point down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that they go to the emergency rooms is because even if they've got this Medicaid coverage, it doesn't get them to a doctor. It certainly doesn't get them to a doctor quickly. So if they got any kind of condition that's gradually getting worse, after they've made a probably half-assed attempt at getting to a doctor, they're just going to go to the emergency room and cost more money.
Yep, exactly. And so there's that side of it, but then there's also the corporate welfare side of this, because this has just become an opportunity for corporations to just throw their employees off of insurance and then have them pushed on to Medicaid. I mean, you can see what's happening with some large retailers and other organizations. They're cutting back the hours of their employees so that they're not, forced to cover them on the exchange. And so where do they end up? These are the people that end up on Medicaid. So it's a corporate welfare opportunity as well. So I at this point, I'm not sure why. Well, the excuse that's being used is the heroin epidemic. So I think the way Jasper and everybody's trying to reframe this is that if we don't continue to do this, then we're not going to be able to solve the heroin crisis. But there's no correlation there. That's a red herring, and we've got to push back on that heavily.
Right. I mean, heroin and other addictions have to be dealt with properly. There have to be penalties for doing whatever under the influence. There have to be treatment programs mandated if the offense was bad enough. And there has to be overdose rescue programs like using Narcan. And these are things that should be organized and funded at a state level. We shouldn't be asking for federal money. It should have nothing to do with Medicaid or Medic anything.
We had Kimberly Moore on last week to talk about this in great detail. So, yeah, it is another excuse. Not that they needed one. They would have found one anyway, I think.
Yeah, they would have. But I guess so from my perspective, I think we can make this very politically unpalatable. And to the extent that people are using, we need to do this because otherwise we won't be able to win the election, I think we can take that off the table. Because if Sununu is going to find that he will have a valid third-party challenger, as well as CD1, CD2, and U.S. Senate, what's the motivation at this point? Because, I mean, literally, we're gonna get wiped out. And I think we just have to hammer that message.
I do. I think that these senators, they need to understand that there's going to be a challenge to their little fun party gathering that they've got going on up there, and they need to know that it's not just whether or not they win, but it's going to cost them a lot of money. That seems like the only thing they understand.
Well, they understand that, but again, on the third-party challenge, I look at this U.S. Senate race. I mean, if it's me or if I can find somebody else that has more name ID, and that's done a statewide race or even a half-state race. Right now, at least in the Ayotte race, it's dead heat. The last poll that I saw was 44% Kelly, 43% Hassan. Given how they're merging their positions, which is another thing that I don't understand about Kelly Ayotte, why she thinks she's going to be able to move to the left. She has identical positions to Hassan. I don't know how she thinks that's a winner. But I think that, as this thing evens out even further, all I have to get is 1%, maybe 2%, 3%, and that sinks their battleship. So that's going to be, it's a real challenge, and it's a real threat that they're going to have to figure out how to deal with.
Those are the numbers that Skip has put out in the past, that if we can get 2 or 3% stolen away from the Republican, they will lose to the Democrat. The other thing that I said in the past, I think it was over Paul Hodes. If given a choice, Paul Hodes and Charlie Bass, given a choice between a real Democrat and an imitation one, the voters are going to choose the real Democrat. And so if you've got Hassan, who is the real thing, and Kelly Ayotte, who's trying to please the Democrats to get some of them to vote for her, they're still going to vote for a real Democrat if they're registered Democrats. They are not going to cross over and vote for Kelly Ayotte. And this is the thing they just don't get.
No, they don't get it, and they seem to have forgotten what happened to Frank Ginta in 2012, and Frank hasn't. I've forgotten. I've talked to him about it at length. I think Brendan Kelly got 14% of the vote, and Ginta lost by 12%. I mean, I think they view the liberty conservative movement as Scott Brown did as well, as being so minuscule that it has no impact. And I think it actually reflects. I mean, I've seen some stats that suggest that 35% of the state identifies with libertarians, not big L libertarians, but small L libertarians views. I mean, this is not a mini movement here by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and they're just taking the totally wrong approach to getting elected. They think that there's enough Republicans that will vote for them anyway, as in asses in seats, and that they're going to get some of the mushy middle, and that's going to work. And it doesn't. They need to get the bulk of the Republicans. They need to get the grassroots activists. And they need to just do the right thing and advertise that they're doing the right thing, and some of that mushy middle will come their way anyway. And
I'm just going to jump in here because I'm reading the National Journal piece that just came out about this. And this is National Journal, of course.
Oh, this is not easy being green article?
Extremely left-wing. So here it says, as her party lurches rightward in the halls of the Capitol. What? That's the... No, okay, has deliberately broken with Senate Republicans, most notably by publicly calling out Senator Ted Cruz for insisting on defunding Planned Parenthood. Okay, first of all, doing that is not breaking from her party. That's joining her party in the Senate, okay? This is crazy. Ayotte, I understand the frustration of my constituents, particularly those on my side of the aisle, which is the left side of the aisle. Republicans won, and they had a very good 2014 election. They took the Senate. Voters feel like, why, then, can't we do all of these things? Well, because you're not doing them. Because you said you were going to be this way. You ran as a Tea Party Republican, and then you started walking down the left side ever since you got there.
You can put it very simply. Whenever there's a controversial issue, Kelly Ayotte will stand up and say something like, I'm voting for cloture so we can bring this to the floor and have a full debate. And at that point, it only needs 50 votes to pass, at which point she can then say, I voted for it before I voted against it, and claim that she didn't vote for whatever disaster befell us. And she does this over and over, and she thinks we're stupid.
Well, and that's precisely why my language has been, because I've talked to some people that are running for, running for governor or CD1 or whatever, and they've said, well, look, I'm not going to support this. Why would you launch a third-party candidate in my race? Because, and the reason is for what you just mentioned. I only care about the outcome. I don't care about whether somebody tried or not. I don't care if, some people that are in the House voted the right way. There needs to be absolute momentum for, if you're in the House right now, to convince your colleagues to vote against Medicaid expansion, because the ramifications will affect everyone down ticket. And so, because that happens in the House all the time, and it happens in the Senate more often than not. Putin would do this all the time, where Jeb Bradley would convince Putin to vote a particular way on this issue, and so that it would allow Jeb to look like he's voting the right way, and have Putin take all the heat. But in exchange, Jeb would help Putin out in the next election. We've got to stop this cycle.
Yeah, the Democrats do the same thing, but they're more artful about it. Why is it that you think that we even think there's such a thing as a blue dog Democrat elected to office? Because the leadership constructs the vote in such a way that the ones that are at risk can say they voted against it. They voted against gun control. They voted against fiscal irresponsibility. They voted pro-life. They can say this because Harry Reid has stitched up enough Democrats and maybe enough Republicans to give cover for the ones that want to run for re-election. And I think that's another bit of the collegiality that goes on. They shift it around depending on who's at risk.
Aaron, we're running out of time. How do people reach you or contact you? Or
you can reach me at RLCNH.org. That's the best way to reach me, or you can just search for me on Facebook. I'm on there quite a bit.
All right. Well, thanks for. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You got a couple seconds.
And Twitter, I'm at Aaron Day Atlas.
All right. Thank you, sir. We got to go.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
All right. Aaron Day, RLCNH. It's a threatened third-party challenge to Kelly Ayotte if the New Hampshire legislature passes Medicaid expansion, which is kind of cool. So we're going to be right back with Roger Wilkins. He's in the room. Stay tuned.